But why don't we have one? So somebody heard me see, if you watched that press conference today, you heard me ask the governor to do what?
Do your job.
Do your job.
Do your job.
So I asked the governor to do his job. And I referenced the Constitution. Anybody remember that? Article 8, Section 2, subsection A of the Illinois State Constitution. It says in relevant part, the governor shall prepare and submit a budget to the General Assembly, a state budget for the ensuing fiscal year. The budget shall set forth the estimated balance of funds, a plan for expenditures and obligations. Proposed expenditures shall not exceed funds estimated to be available for the fiscal year as shown in the budget. Here's a budget that was just proposed. Fiscal year 2018. $7.2 billion out of balance. Again, let that sink in for a minute. $7.2 billion out of balance. And you will be, you will hear that we're gonna shift costs. We're gonna do all these other kinds of things. You know what that means? You're gonna shift the costs. You're gonna take them from the state and push them to the locals. So what does that mean? That means property taxes are going up. I mean, other taxes and fees are going to go up. At the same time, you're talking about cuts to human services, cuts to higher education, cuts to health care, cuts to local services. That's what all those things mean. But it will be wrapped in a very innocuous bow. This is about efficiency. This is about making sure we're doing things right. Give me another. Governor Rauner has proposed 3 budgets since he's been in office. 3. 2016, 2017, 2018. $14.6 billion out of balance. That includes cuts to pensions. That includes things that's called us working together. Now, Illinois is 198 years old. 2 world wars, civil rights movement, civil unrest. We have a stock market crash, 1 and 2. We have always had a state budget. Now, we don't have a state budget. What's different? Y'all said it, I didn't. But see, that goes back to a point. You have individuals who are investing in a political agenda as opposed to one that focuses on people. It's good politics to say we're going to make sure that we turn the state around and we're going to invest in the job creators. Well, what do job creators want? Oh, let me go up for a second. Come on. We'll come back. Go up. Right, stop. Go back. There you go. So the National Federation of Independent Business, the business organization for small businesses, every year they do a survey, right? And their survey talks about what's important to them. Here are the issues, some of the issues that are state issues on their top 10 list. Uncertainty over economic condition. Uncertainty over government action. Workers' compensation. And finding and keeping skilled employees. I don't see term limits on that list. I don't see redistricting reform on that list. In fact, as I look through that entire list, and I look through the 500 pages of the budget document that the governor just released, I don't see a line item for redistricting reform. I don't see a line item for term limits. I do see a line item for education. I see a line item for human services. Those are the issues we should be talking about. We should be talking about a political agenda when we're having a budget fight. Mm-hmm. We should be talking about how much we fund education. We should be talking about how much we fund public service, public safety rather. We should be talking about human services. Those are the things we should be talking about, not a political agenda. Political agenda, let that be a discussion within the confines of that policy. Mm-hmm. But you're going to have a discussion about politics. Our children should not be held hostage for a political agenda. They should just not be. We're going to have a discussion about funding our higher education system. We have right now if you look at Chicago State, you look at Northeastern, Governor State Governor State is saying they're going to close 22 programs. 22 programs. That comes on the heels of Chicago State laying off hundreds of employees and faculty. That comes on the heels of Eastern Illinois laying off faculty. All of these institutions of higher education laying off individuals, closing programs just to make ends meet. We're talking about a political agenda when what we should be talking about is a growth and opportunity agenda. It just, again, fundamentally unfair, and it makes no sense for us to be talking about a political agenda when we have so many people hurting. Let's go back for a second. No, go back to the next slide. Right there. Here's where we were when Governor Rauner took office. We had $4.7 billion in old bills, right? Today, these are current figures. We looked them up today. $12.9 billion in old bills sitting at the comptroller's office waiting to be paid. $12.9 billion. Give me the next slide. But this is the one that's really telling. So here's where we are, February 2017. If we do nothing, here's what we'll be in 5 years. $47 billion in debt. $47 billion. If we do not, and these are his numbers. So it's not like the governor doesn't know. These are his numbers. So here's where we are, $12.3 billion. Here's where we will be by the end of the year, 13.5. Next year, by the end of the year, we'll be at $20 billion. We double by 2021 to $40 billion, and we're at $47 billion by 2022. And we're talking about a political agenda. We are at crisis, everybody. We are in crisis mode. We don't have time to talk about a political agenda. We don't have time to talk about this. We need to be talking about fixing the problem, not talking about issues that have nothing to do with making our community stronger. All the other stuff, that stuff does not make our community stronger. What will make our community stronger is growing our economy, and what grows our economy is certainty for those individuals who want to locate their businesses here. They want to make sure we can pass a budget. There's a business that was looking to locate out in the southern part of the district. So as you know, district goes from 73rd Street on the north, State to Cottage Grove, south, I take the Bishop Ford 394 corridor, south to the Kankakee River, Indiana border, back to I-57. There's a business that wanted to locate in the southern part of the district. Business has said, you know what, I'll take a pass. Y'all can even pass a budget while I locate my company there. Folks don't care about some of this other stuff. They care about making sure that we are investing in communities. And if there is no more telling a sign in this entire talk that we're going to have today, it's this one. That's where we are. Do you know how long it would take us to climb out of that hole? It's going to take us generations to climb out of that. Give me next. We already did that. So, again, let's talk about this for a second. So, what does he talk about when he means reform? When he says reform, he talks about workers' compensation. He talks about term limits. He talks about redistricting reform. He talks about cuts to state pensions. All things that will impact what people take home in their paychecks. You know, he didn't talk about making sure that the wealthy pay their fair share. He doesn't talk about making sure that companies that move out of Illinois and take Illinois tax dollars take out Illinois tax dollars with them, or take Illinois tax incentives with them, pay them back. He didn't talk about those because that doesn't play to his constituency. What plays his constituency is making the bad people pay. Well, the reality is, the wealthy they are not paying their fair share, and we've tried on a number of occasions to pass what's called the millionaire's tax, making the million. If you are a millionaire, you will pay more of your income into the state, and that money will be specifically dedicated to education. He and his colleagues they oppose that. They've opposed making us, changing our tax code to make our tax code more progressive. Right now, Illinois has a flat tax. Everybody pays 3% of their income. So whether you make $3,000 or $300 million, you pay 3% of your income. Again, fundamentally does not make sense. If your ability to pay for income tax should change, your rate of tax that you pay should change with your ability to pay. Should change your income. No different than what the federal government does. The federal government has a progressive income tax based on your adjusted gross income. Illinois, we have a regressive tax. And it hits people differently. 3% of somebody who makes $3,000 hits somebody very differently than 3% of somebody who hits $3 million. So it's a regressive tax. So what I've talked about, one of the things that we've been working on and looking at is making sure that we modernize our tax code. Making sure that individuals who can pay more, they should pay more. Making sure that individuals, that our tax code really reflects the economy that we have. We have a service-based economy, we have a manufacturing-based tax code. So we have to recognize that. But that means making sure that our tax code is modernized. There's nothing wrong with looking at our tax code and making sure that we are going to be able to grow companies, incentivize companies who are locating here. Frankly, I don't think there's anything wrong with us saying, businesses is not the bad guy. Business is not the bad guy. They're not. But there has to be a recognition that if we're going to grow our economies, business can't do it alone. Communities can't do it alone. There has to be a partnership. And when we start working together, that's when that'll happen. So, I know you've been waiting for some questions.
Oh, Jesus.
I can ask questions as long as you've been talking.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
With the, I don't know what he's doing is intended. Right. Because if you write a bad check or you incur bad debt, there's a punitive recourse for that. But he's allowed to continue to run the money.
See, why don't you make me go somewhere? I wasn't going to go.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna go.
First family.
So part of the challenge is if I came to you and I said, Wanda, if you don't give me that room at Chicago State for free, I'm gonna take $100 from you. That's extortion. That's extortion. But again, good politics is we shouldn't pay the legislature because they haven't passed the budget. They're not doing their job. Now, I don't want to get into the politics of that argument, but that's essentially what's happened. What's happened is I'm going to take your paycheck away because I haven't signed the budget that you haven't passed the budget that I haven't signed the budget, but you should have a paycheck. What you are seeing right now is the takeover of government by the wealthy. And when you look at the financing of the governor's last campaign, 5 people basically funded his campaign. Of the $50 million he just put in his campaign account, that basically came from 5 people. 5 people. So that story is playing out across this country. So you are seeing anybody ever heard of the Koch brothers?
Yeah.
Everybody ever heard of Ken Griffin?
Yeah.
Richard Uihlein? Those individuals are systematically taking over and trying to take over state governments around this country. If you look at the map, and that's one of the maps we took out. We didn't think everybody would want to see that. If you looked at a map of state legislatures around the country, you will see that there are more Republican legislatures than there have ever been in the history of the United States. And the reason that, again, there is a reason why some of the things that are going on with Illinois are going on. Illinois is a speck of blue in a sea of red.
True.
Iowa is red. Missouri is going red. Indiana is red. Wisconsin is red. Michigan. So Illinois, there's a target on Illinois. Because if you can flip Illinois from blue to red, that it would be the symbolic death knell of the Democratic Party in Midwestern America. That would mean that you could take the Democratic Party and you could say that they are now the party of the coast, the West Coast and the East Coast. And that's the only way they are. That's why there's a broader plan in place for Illinois. That's why you see a lot of the challenges that we have. Governor, we have passed over 20 bills, 20 budget bills, mind you. The House to pass the budget, and we passed the budget in conjunction with the governor in 15, 16, by ourselves. We passed it in conjunction with the Senate, and we passed the budget in 17. Over 20 budget bills have been passed that the governor's vetoed. 20. Again, but those are stories that don't get told. He'll keep saying, well, they should just pass the budget. We have passed the budget. We passed 22 of them that they've been vetoed.
But you just showed us Article 8.
I did.
So
I did.
He's in violation of that.
Yeah.
He don't care? Yeah, but I thought it was law.
And he took an oath to uphold it. Other questions? I want in the back. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, hi. First of all, my name is Martha Metters. I am a 68-year-old senior, and I'm also a senior here in Chicago State with a 3.5 GPA. Okay. Now, the problem is, one, I have several things to address, and I hope you guys don't mind.
No, take your time.
Okay. While I was going to South Suburban Junior College and had a class on political science.
Mm-hmm.
As parents, you're responsible for your children till they're 18, 21. So one of my questions to my professor who dealt with the state was, as a parent, and we're responsible for our children and responsible for them getting to school and staying in school. You know what I'm about to bring up, don't you? How is it possible that you tell us we cannot let our children decide to drop out when that law is still on the book for 16 years, that they can drop out at the age of 16? My question was to him, why not change that law so that it makes it that they can stay in school till they're 18? I was told that is impossible to change. You would have to create a new law to go over that law. So why hasn't that been done? Or has it been done? Because our kids can still drop out at 16.
Well, first of all,
Now, many of us came up and we knew that we could drop out of school at 16. Your parents dared you, okay? But it's still here now. We can't dare these kids.
well, let me say this. I disagree with that. I think you absolutely can. Part of the challenge is that we've not held our kids accountable. Part of the reason why they've taken the path that they've taken in some instances is because they believe that it's okay to do the things that are easy and the things that feel good as opposed to things that are good for you. You know, I might not like to eat my Brussels sprouts, but my mama made me.
Right.
But so children cannot make the decisions for themselves. We got to stop being our children's friends and be our children's parents. The word tells me, if you raise a child in the way that he goes, when he gets old, he shall never depart from it. And that's what we have to do. So let me finish, Mark. Let me finish. We've got to get out of the habit of saying we can't make our kids do. You are a child, and I know what's best for you. When you become an adult, you can go out into the world and you can do what you believe is best, based on the lessons that I have taught you, but also based on what your experiences have taught you. But that we have gotten to a point where we get comfortable with our children being comfortable with we're saying I'm not going to lay out and I'm going to do what I want because it feels good to me. No, I have the belief that if we teach our children the value of an education, because that's part of it. We don't teach our children that the education matters. Education is important. The reason that you are here as a senior as a seasoned individual is because you understand the value of an education. And if we don't value an education, we don't teach our children our education is valued, because when they come to school, if they come to school and they see the books that I have don't reflect the reality that I'm living, the books that I have are old and they're tattered and they're torn, and that means education is not valued to me. But if I come to school, imagine if our children went to school and they had the best of everything. Everything. If they had the best school books, they had the best textbooks, they had the best technology. Imagine if they had that. They would understand that education is valuable, and it'd be valuable to them. But also let me say this too. When I'm in Springfield, there is no law that cannot be changed. That is what I do. That's what those numbers were about. There are 18 volumes of the Illinois Code, and everything from finance to local government to education, law covering all those things. That's what we are doing. So you can if there is a law, and if there is a recommended change in law, I'd ask you to point it out to me.
Well, there is a law because a lot of us grew up with that. But when I say we dare to, because our parents, yes, education is valuable. We know that these kids at 16, 17, by the way, I live in an area that I never thought I would live in. I don't mean there's anything wrong, but as soon as I can get out of there, I'm running. I live in Roseman Pullman. I was raised in South Shore, okay? But I happen to end up out there at a senior building. Babies raising babies, okay? So this is why I feel that law should be changed so that these kids cannot drop out at 16. I'm in a war zone, okay? Roseman Pullman is a war zone. If I take a paratransit ride, I tell them don't go down Michigan, okay? Because there's too much going on there. So we got an alderman who doesn't care. Amen. And we got a state representative who doesn't care.
Oh, wait a minute now.
Okay, Thaddeus Jones.
Wait.
Oh, you got to prove something else to me because
Wait.
I had Monique.
I thought you were talking about me. Wait a minute.
But you are not mad. This young man just told me.
But you know, in all seriousness, in all fairness, listen. The same can be said for any elected official. They're not doing anything. They don't care. It can be said. Have you gone to their meetings? Have you gone and participated? But I don't want to have that debate discussion here. But I would ask those questions. Number one. Number two, what I would say to you is part of the reason why our communities have been able to deteriorate the way they have is because people say what you just said to me. As soon as I can get out of here, I'm gone. How about we, no, because I don't accept that. Because when my wife and I got married, we could have lived whatever we wanted to. But we chose to live in Chatham. We made a conscious decision to live in Chatham. And I walk my block, and I know the problem homes on my block, and that was before I was a state representative. But I knew that because I'm a concerned citizen. If the young folks are out, if the young folks are out in the backyard playing at midnight, playing basketball or doing whatever, or playing loud music or doing, I will walk down there, and I say, hey y'all, I gotta go to work in the morning. And oftentimes when you treat people with respect, they will respond in kind. But I'm not giving my house to nobody. I'm not going anywhere. I live here. I love this community. I am raising my family here, and this is where we're gonna be. I'm not going anywhere, and I don't expect anybody to do the same.
Well, I'm an outspoken person.
I'll add to that because before the passage of the 1968 Fair Housing Act, many of these neighborhoods, like not just Chatham, but Roseland and Rosemore too, they're very good neighborhoods. As a result of the Fair Housing Act, when more people were steered to certain areas, other people moved out and the areas became redlined at that point. And they turned into bad neighborhoods. They started out initially as good neighborhoods. I refute that. Because I still believe these communities are great communities. They're not just good communities, they're great communities. You have people who go to work every day, they take care of their homes, they love their homes, they want the best for themselves and their families. I'm not saying they're not good neighborhoods, there has been divestment.
But there has absolutely been divestment. But again, that's why when you start talking about our children becoming entrepreneurs, I don't need anybody else to come in and save me. Why don't we build our own? Why don't we build those? Why don't we build the companies to come in our communities and locate in our communities so we can have folks come and build up those local communities? That's what we've got to do. Seaway Bank just got bought out.
Right.
And you know, twice, and within months. Because we are not investing in our own community. Let's invest in our own community. Let's make sure that we have the best that our community can ever hope for. Let's make sure that we have the amenities that they have in any other community. Let's make sure we have them right here.
Okay, but the fact is with Roseland.
But wait, Mark, you can't dominate the questions. Now you can't dominate it. It's your
But I
last
still
one.
have some more questions.
It's your last one. It's your last one. Come on.
Let me try to combine it, because
Okay.
we're talking on the budget. Okay, and I see some senior citizens here. Okay, so I'm going to the seniors because my mattress will be in time.
Okay.
Okay, with him doing the budget cuts, we have a senior citizen program, senior citizen waiver,
Mhm.
free education plus, that's how one of my payments are made here. Okay, and I'm wondering if that's gonna be cut. I'm also wondering what else is gonna be cut for the seniors. Because, although half of us are on Medicare and retirement, another half of us are waiting for state Medicaid, which doctors are no longer accepting any patients with that. And you
Just
can
one
understand why
budget.
I'm busy talking to them, can you take 80%? Yeah, I'll do 80%. And the majority of seniors who are low income and retired also receive no more than between $6 and $92 a link. Did anybody know that? Oh yeah, we spend a lot of time in the food pantries. Okay, so with the budget cut, and what's gonna happen with us, the seniors? What's gonna happen, because you are focusing on the young kids, yes, and I'm focusing on the seniors, because we are steady going down too.
Well, let me, don't think that we're only focusing on the young. Because all that we do should be focused on the most vulnerable. And those individuals who can't take care of themselves. The reason we don't have a budget, that impacts everybody. That impacts the old, the young, that impacts everybody. So that's part of the reason why when I talk about the fact that we are having this discussion about a budget that has nothing, items in the budget that have nothing to do with the budget, you're holding our communities hostage for things that have nothing to do with the budget. Nothing. You are talking about issues with senior citizens.
Right.
You don't care about redistricting reform, do you?
I
care about-
didn't
you don't
even
care-
know about it until the young man when I told him that Monique Davis used to be my state rep.
But that's my point. My
We
point
didn't
is
even
that.
know.
But my point is that we are talking about political, and everything has stopped because we are focused on political as opposed to focused on substantive. Let's focus on the things that matter. Let's focus on the issues that you care about. Let's focus on making sure that you have health care. Make sure that you have paratransit, because that's the other thing that, you talked about that, but those are items that need to be focused on. How are some seniors going to get to their doctor's appointments if they don't have access to that? That's what not having a budget. That's what that does to us. That's what it does to our communities. It devalues and defunds our communities.
I'm well aware of it, but like I said, my main thing is with the seniors, because I live in a combined building, two buildings. And we are sitting up concerned as heck, like, how are we gonna do this? What if they're gonna cut anymore? One of the neighbors said, girl, they just cut me down to $6 a month. So what am I supposed to do? I said, hey, you know what? On the Greater Food Depository website, I've copied everything from every neighborhood there was to say which pantries are county, which means no zip code, and which ones are zip that we can go through and get some meats and everything.
Thank you for doing that.
We're one.
But that is exactly what, as a community, we have to do. We have to make sure we pull together. This is when we have to pull together. If you know it, then I know it. You can't keep the information to yourself. That's why, I'm glad we're here, and that's one of the reasons why we're Facebook Live in this, because we want this information to get out. We want the community to know what we're talking about and the things that are going on. We can't keep this to ourselves. We have gone this is the urgency of now, not tomorrow, not yesterday. The urgency of now. If we don't start acting right now, we are in trouble.
Well, I need on Facebook with your meeting.
I need to get some more questions. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Next? Yeah, right.
Yeah, what I wanted to
Drop some right here.
make a statement about that. It's from an education, and I looked at a survey not too long ago, and it showed the different communities like Chatham and Roseland that actually paid money into the Illinois State Lottery. And initially when the lottery was first created, we were told that it was going to go for the schools. Well, why is it that the communities of color are putting so much money into this lottery, but yet very few dollars are coming back for educational funding to our communities?
The money goes into, from the lottery, it goes into the common school fund. And then that money goes into what's called the general fund. So how we fund education is, general funds fund education. General revenue, education assistance, common school. Lottery money goes into this common school fund. That money is then poured back into the education pot, and it goes out to everybody. So that's part of when I start talking about reforming the way that we fund education. Right. That's one of the things we should be talking about.
Because it's disproportionately coming back as what we put in.
We should be those are things we should be talking about.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And the other thing is that you talked about the different school districts. One of the things that they had that was supposed to rebuild many communities was the tax increment districts. Okay. Funding. Somehow they were used to do downtown. And the Mag Mile and all that, but the real blatant communities never got the proper funding from the tax increment districting thing that they're supposed to receive. Well, and that happens if we can go to Mayor Daly, because most of them.
Okay. The tax increment financing.
Yeah.
Again, we could hold a whole nother town hall meeting just TIF districts. Yeah, just on TIF.
But the point isn't it's supposed to go to those neighborhoods that we need. It didn't do that.
No, there are. I think that I'm not going to purport to be an expert on TIFs. TIFs are a function of they're created by state law, but they're a function of the city. So the mall that's been built for employment, the Walmart, the Planet Fitness, all that came from the TIF district. All those resources came from the TIF. So again, well, listen. I don't purport to be an expert on TIFs, and I'm not going to try and speak on them.
Okay.
So I'm going to speak on what I know.
Okay.
Which is state issues. You got any more?
Right.
Yeah. The only other thing I had is that when we started looking at, you mentioned jobs and employers coming in and investing in certain areas and all. It's such a big disparity between the northwest suburbs and the south side of Chicago. In other words, O'Hare is the economic engine for the northwest suburbs. There's no economic engine over here.
Well, that's exactly why now you're verbalizing why those hope zones are so important. Right. Because they will target individuals and look at target areas where individuals have high unemployment. There's high crime, and it will go after and incentivize people to locate in those areas. That's why we have got to think differently about economic development. Economic development is not just throwing a building up and thinking people will come. There's a building that's been sitting empty on 79th and Eberhard for 4 or 5 years now. It was built as a green,